Just to start with, according to police and also statistically, it says that where rape cases, occur, the perpetrator is often known to the victim. Could this be perhaps be a contributing factor as to why so many of these rape cases go unreported to authorities?
No doubt, no doubt. Statistically, women are more likely to be raped by someone they know, someone in their own household, a friend of the family, the neighbors, the teacher, the coach. Those are the people who are more likely to be the perpetrators of rape. Yes, so a lot of the cases, the perpetrator is in the position of power. It's a teacher, it's an uncle, it's an elder person, and the poor victim, often much younger, often in a very much weaker position economically or socially, is unable to report the matter either to her parents or to the authorities. And this is also a contributing factor is also that even if the person does report it to the authorities or to the parents or elders in the family, they themselves, the authorities or these family members, are in fact suppressing the further progress of a criminal charge or so, for many reasons.
Yeah.
One of them could be just that they want to protect the perpetrator because he means much more to them, to the family, or is the provider of money or resources, or simply that they are afraid of that perpetrator is maybe in a much powerful position than they can handle.
Yeah.
So yes, a lot of the cases are not reported simply because the perpetrator is known to the family.
Yeah. We saw last week a debate happening in Parliament where the discussion around rape in marriage, does it happen, does it not happen? We saw high-ranking police official also talk about it in the newspapers, and there were sort of opposite views on the matter. To set things straight this evening, does rape in marriage exist?
Yes. We don't have the statistics for obvious reasons, or at least not very conclusive statistics for obvious reasons, because wives are more unlikely than anyone else to report their husbands for rape. But just considering the anecdotal evidence that is there, just considering what women go through in the brutal assault by their husbands or lovers they are being subjected to, just the fact that there are people who have views, such as some of unfortunately, our parliamentarians, that you cannot deny your husband conjugal rights. You cannot deny your husband, which is part of, sex is part of conjugal rights. You cannot deny your husband sex. Must suggest that it actually happens much more often than we can ever imagine. So yes, it is unfortunate that there's probably quite a lot of more marital rape or spousal rape in Namibia and elsewhere than we actually think.
What does the law say? Because as you mentioned, because of these conjugal rights, people sort of have a blurred understanding of what rape in the context of marriage means. But rape, as the one parliamentarian so fervently spoke about, is an issue of consent.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It must always be of consent. Anything else, everything else must always be of consent between spouses. But for many years, marital rape did not exist in the country. In other words, the understanding was that, under the law at least, was that once the parties exchange vows and they promise to be faithful to each other and support each other and obviously render conjugal rights to each other, the husband, in the context of sexual intercourse, can simply demand sexual intercourse and take it whenever he wants it without consent of the woman. Because the mere fact of the woman entering into a marriage with her husband, it was understood that that woman then gave consent to everything, including sex, of whatever constitutes conjugal rights in a marital context. And that was changed by Section 2 of the Combating of Rape Act in 2000, when Parliament passed it and said that marriage or any other type of relationship is not a defense to charge of rape. In other words, now, since at least 2000, a man cannot have sexual intercourse with his lawfully wedded wife without that wife's consent.
And how are parliamentarians not aware of that?
Well, was maybe a debate for another day, but
Right.
the quality of our parliament hasn't been of any particular standard for many, many years.
Yeah.
But yes, it's not just the parliamentarians, but despite the fact that this law has been in existence now for, 22 years,
Yes.
we still have people who believe the contrary, that despite the law, a woman is obliged to provide sex to their husband, even if she doesn't want at that particular moment or ever, because of the conjugal rights concept that they have that is so conceited.
Yeah. As you mentioned, it's not only parliamentarians that are sort of ignorant concerning this law, but a large part of, Namibian population as well. How do we begin to, help better educate our Namibian people on this?
I think the right step was to pass a law to abolish the issue of whether or not a man can just have sexual intercourse with his wife without consent. And that happened, as I said, 22 years ago in the Combating of Rape Act. And one of the issues that we have to then do is to take this law to the people. I mean, the organizations like the Legal Assistance Center, the Office of the Ombudsman have tried that, are doing that currently as we speak. But I mean, they can only reach so many people out of the 2.5 million people in the country. And it's a question of behavioral change. I mean,
Yes.
It must be a concerted effort continuously to educate from perhaps primary school, high school, certainly universities. It must be part of the mainstream courses that those elements of human rights, in particular women's rights, elements such as consent in marriage for sexual intercourse must be taught to just about every class. And the churches obviously play an extremely
Yes.
important role.
Yes.
Not just simply because they are the church, but because the church has such an important role,
Yes.
such an important place
And that is
in
where
our
the
society.
Institute of Marriage is sealed, mostly
And
in
that's,
churches, right?
by the way, that's where the marriages are sealed. That's where people go to when they have problems in their marriages, that they would seek counsel from their pastors or priests. And so the churches play an extremely important role in this quest that we have to have behavioral change, to start understanding that women are equal human beings, capable of rights, and they have autonomy over their body. They've never ever gave up to say, my body is not mine, it's that of my husband, and my husband can do whatever they want to do with it. They have the autonomy, and they can decide that I will have sex today, not tomorrow. I don't want to have sex with you because you're cheating on me. You might have sexually transmitted infections that you would transmit to me, and therefore I don't want to have sex with you, or I want to have sex under this type of conditions. Use protection, use a condom, whatever. That is the right of that woman. If the husband is unhappy with the conditions that are set by his wife, he can then take action of divorce. If he doesn't want to mend, it's a question of compromise. If marriage is such an important institution and such a valuable institution to our society, I think we should then accord every party in that marriage that sort of valuable contribution that that person brings to the marriage and to society in general, including women.
Mr. Tjombe, thank you so much for shedding some light on this matter, and thank you for joining us this evening.
It's most pleasurable.